All right, welcome to Vault of Echoes. This is a new game that I am developing. It's my first game that I've ever done, so there is a lot of learning, and I'll probably at some point put out a video on exactly what that learning process has been for me. But this is a game that I have had in the back of my brain for years and years and years and years. And the way that I would describe it is kind of consider this or think of this as an auto battler that is mixing ARPG elements with roguelike elements and loot extraction elements. So you'll see on the right here when you start a new run, you have the current tier of the dungeon that you're running, the wave that progresses as time moves on, the damage and the health of the enemies, and then as they come into range of your character, which there's no indication for that yet, um, they will um, they will start attacking your player, and you can see the health bar on the bottom left. And your player, if they're in range of your player will automatically start attacking the enemies. And so you kind of see them come in. There's different rarities and types of enemies like melee, ranged, tanks, fast enemies, bosses, elites, and then different rarities. Early on in the runs, you should see more kind of common and magic enemies that you would typically see in most types of games, but as that goes on, the rarity chances increase. So as the enemies are dying, they have a chance to drop loot, which is the loot window at the very top. I should probably take a second to acknowledge the fact that all of the stuff that you're seeing, this is all just like wireframes. There has not been any design pass done on this game yet at all. So, and the reason for the really odd colors is it just when I'm developing, it makes it very easy for me to understand which panel is which. So no design pass has been done on this at all. There's no icons, there's no nothing. And you'll see a bunch of like weird bugs. Like for example, this doesn't quite fill the slot when you drop it in. So as you're killing enemies, enemies will drop gear. Gear has different rarity to it. So you'll see this one that dropped was a battle axe. It's a magic two-handed axe, magic being the rarity, and then it has affixes that can drop. This one has combat speed and armor penetration. This one was a magic bow, which also has combat speed and then health on kill. This is a common one, which has no affixes on it. And then this is a magic scepter, which has damage and lifesteal. The affixes don't really have too strong a rules associated with them, so you kind of just ignore some of the things that you're seeing. For example, like lifesteal here is showing 0.0 because it's a 100th place decimal number, so it's just not showing up. Okay, so we got some gloves that came in. And then so enemies are spawning in as we go. Player health on the bottom left. These are the potion slots right here on the left. So you see them as I'm killing enemies, they refill. Very similar, taking inspiration from Path of Exile for some of the stuff, which is a favorite game of mine. And on the right, these are not wired up yet, but these are where abilities will show, and then some type of resource, whether that's like mana or energy or something like that. So the premise of the game is you go through your combat and your waves, and anything that you find during the run, when the run is over, you do not get to keep except for the one item that you extract. So essentially on this run, I'm trying to make a decision of what is like the best piece of gear that I want to take out with me, which then becomes a permanent piece of gear on my character that I can then take into future runs. So let's just go and do that now. I do have this magic scepter. I actually like these gloves a little bit better because they have some armor on them. So you'll see when I extract with this, the run ends. I do get to keep this one piece of gear. Everything else is gone, and I can put the gloves onto my character. These are the character slots. None of them obviously are labeled yet, but you have shoulders, helmet, amulet, gloves, torso, or main hand, torso, or chest, offhand, ring, belt, ring, gloves, legs, boots. um, and then this is the inventory slot at the bottom, and then this is the piece that you can extract from, and then I have a game save mechanism for now. And again, a lot of this stuff is kind of like hard-coded, wired in place as I'm developing the game. So you see on the top right, we're in the main sort of like lobby or meta progression of the game. So we're outside the dungeon right now. And you can see I can increase the tier on the right, which increases the difficulty multiplier and also increases the loot drop and the rarity as well. But the general premise is that tier 2 and above should be way too hard for someone just starting out to play, and I would expect someone to be in tier 1 for a decent amount of time. I'm thinking that most of the runs should be about maybe 10 to 15 minutes. I'm still kind of playing with some of that. You also notice that I do have a dev panel that I have put in. So there's one bug I gotta track, which is you don't heal upon leaving. So I entered a new run, and you'll see this time the gloves did come with me, and so that those gloves are adding armor, and in this case lightning resistance to this character. None of the enemies do lightning damage yet, but that's what that'll be there for. And the main kind of premise of this is you are sort of a main, like this kind of story lore that I'm building up around this is that you are some type of character in like this dystopian future that's under a lot of heavy control. All of the weapons and the magic items and spells and all that kind of stuff has been kept under control by some type of corporation that's taken over the world essentially. And so, in the real world, which is essentially the lobby, you are not allowed to have find weapons or defensive things or gear or anything like that because they do not want any of the people resisting the folks that are in control or the company that's in power. And so the only way they can do it is by essentially going into an alternative universe. And the way they do that is they hook themselves up into a machine and they create an echo of themselves. And that echo is this piece that kind of like an energy that moves into this alternate universe. And they've managed to create a way that they can tunnel one item, which is the extraction. They can tunnel one item at a time from that alternate universe back into the real world. They don't have enough abilities to do anything more than that. So when you're moving into a new universe or moving into that alternate universe with your echo, creating an echo of your main character, you're creating copies or echoes of all of your equipment that you're taking in with you. And the premise is you want to continue to get stronger so that you can find better gear and extract that one piece so that you can take it back out into the real world, which is the kind of the lore behind that. And from there, the general concept is that there will eventually be well, that's a good one, a rare chest there. So there will eventually be, actually, look, we'll extract with that, because if you die, you don't get to keep the item that you extracted with, that you put in your extraction. So you actually have to make a decision to extract. I'm still testing whether I want extraction to be something always available there or something that's more of like a decision point, which I'll talk about that in a second. And so the premise is you keep going in, you keep creating an echo of yourself going into this sort of like alternate world in order to run the dungeon, kill mobs, try to find, oh yeah, I don't have to keep healing myself. But you'll see like this one has 18 max health. And so my max health is 119 now. So it's 18.7, it rounds up, and a little bit of armor defense. And so I should be a little bit tankier as I go. Also, I realize my health potions don't refill either. Fun times. And so that's supposed to kind of be the general premise, is that you're going to keep, we'll leave that on the ground. You're going to keep taking one item out and then making yourself more powerful so that you can run higher waves, run higher gear tiers so you can get better gear. All the gear is tiered, all the affixes are tiered. So the more difficult the run is that you're doing, the higher chance for better stats on gear. So that's the general kind of core loop of it. And then the other premise that will be implemented is that there will be a real world sort of tower that you actually take on with your player themselves. And that is the advancing towards the company or the enemy that is kind of taken over the world. And so you want to keep doing these echoes to make yourself powerful so you can continue to climb the tower towards the enemy and take the world back over. So that's the general kind of game loop that's happening. Now, what I really wanted there to be was a lot of depth to this game in terms of like the types of builds you can have, the stats and whatnot. So outside of it'll start first with the one kind of roguelike element of this. So as you can kind of get the sense of, is that every run that you have will hopefully be a little bit different than the run before. You might encounter different enemies, different rarities, different difficulties, and have different gear drop. But one of the things that I want to implement into this game are decision points. And I really want this game to have a very heavy risk versus reward component to it. So throughout the game, enemies will drop these, again, kind of like you would see in other roguelikes, but they'll drop these decision points. And at the bottom of here, we'll take these gloves out. These ones were these give us a little bit more damage, so that's fine. And so you'll have these decision points to heal my echo. I can't remember if I put in do potions, but I didn't. I don't think so. And so they'll drop, in addition to regular loot items, they'll drop decision points, which will come up into this bottom panel. This bottom panel is active decisions. And you'll get these cards or these chests or whatever this piece will look like that will have a risk reward component to it. So it might say something like enemies get twice as fast, and the quantity of the loot that drops also increases by 1.5 times, right? Something like that. And so every time that you go in a run, the run should feel a little bit different. You might have more risk, you might have higher levels of rewards. And that risk reward mechanism can, drastically alter how the run goes, whether you feel super overpowered, the type of gear that you can get. It could influence, like, enemies drop gear of, one affix is a higher tier, but all enemies do twice as much damage, right? Something to that effect. And there may also be things like, your player can no longer regen health, but the number of mobs spawning is twice as much, right? Which would give you, essentially twice as many chances at gear and loot. So that sort of premise of I really want each run to have very heavy risk reward components to it. Another element that I'm going to eventually introduce into this game is this concept of, in addition to extracting a piece of loot, you can now also power up a piece of loot, but you also risk kind of bricking the gear as well. So you'll have these kind of challenge runs that you can slot in, let's say an axe or something. And the challenge run, that if you can complete it, it's very difficult, but if you can complete it, maybe it changes the tier of one of your affixes to the highest level. So sort of an element of like crafting to it. But if you don't complete it, then the item can no longer be altered or changed. So if you're familiar with Path of Exile, it's kind of got a little bit of like a like the voling of gear sort of concept to it. So yeah, this is the general sort of premise. Again, like, there's been no design passes or anything like this. The early game, as you can see, like, the loop of it is a little bit slow right now, so I'm just kind of tweaking with some numbers just to make this early part feel a little bit better. The design of like icons for the type of loot that you'll have and everything will also kind of help contribute to being able to sort of understand what's going on a little bit better. Obviously, I know what's going on because I've coded the whole thing. But also, one of the things you probably notice is that there are timer on this gear, and this ground is essentially supposed to simulate the player kind of running through the dungeon. And so if you don't pick something up, in a lot of games where you're running a dungeon, you're going to leave that piece of gear behind, and that's essentially what this is also mimicking. So this is a cool point that I love about this game so far. So here I have this crossbow, which has some health on kill, a crit multiplier. I already have this this magic axe, which is giving me some health on kill, but I really want to extract these boots because I don't have any, and they have a little bit of dodge chance and some poison resistance on them. But then we just get this rare dagger, and now I know that I want to take that rare dagger out, and I'm going to extract with it. And so those other two pieces of gear that I found are essentially just, no good now. Again, those show as 0 because they're like, I had to play with the numbers a little bit, but they're in the hundredths. So now I have this dagger, and the rare dagger has 4 affixes. I think most gear will have up to 4 affixes if it's a rare, and then legendary and set items will have their own kind of set design to them. It would be very rare. So that's the kind of feel that I wanted to create with this game right there, which was like, I'm as the run is going, I'm having to sort of make decisions about what gear do I want to keep, what gear is going to help me in this current run to try to push it farther, because the further into the run that I go, the better chance I have at better gear dropping. And that just happened to be a pretty good example of that. The stats aren't, out of this world because we're still in tier 1 and we have tier 1 stats here, and again, I got to play with the numbers a little bit, but I was going to extract something else, and then that is something that came that was better. You can also drop items back on the ground. So you'll see that I don't need these gloves anymore. They've been in my stash. They keep getting copied over. And actually that's also another bug, because stash items shouldn't be coming over with when you do the echo creation, but that's okay. So here we got a crossbow, a rare crossbow that happened to come in. So sometimes you can get, good gear early on. You'll see here's another bug I need to go squash, which is you can get 2 affixes, the same affix twice. But in all intents and purposes, this is probably a little bit of a better item just from survivability. It gives me a little bit of that health on kill, which hopefully will actually show up and work. But so here's like some boots, which I don't have the basic stats showing on here, but they all come with a little bit of like armor, a little bit of I don't know if they come with health, but a little bit of defense stats on the base of them. So yeah, so that's the, again, that's sort of the premise of it. Now, okay, here's a good like leather helmet. It's got some max health on it, which will be really good for us. So we'll extract with that. And then outside of the run, we'll have a lot of, I want to see some have ideas to build some very cool, sort of like meta progression systems. So there's at least two that I have in mind right now. One of them is going to be absolutely kind of like experience stat points. So very, very incremental amounts, but you'll be able to, increase your attack speed or your range or your crit chance, or your health or your raw damage, or, any of those types of stats. And that kind of has this like, I don't know if it'll be unlimited number of levels or like up to 100, but definitely there will be an kind of an element of like a soft cap to it, where the early levels you kind of level up pretty quickly, very similar to other games, and then once you get past like level 60 or 70, the leveling up becomes a lot slower. The second piece is that I want there to be sort of like a research or training system that is very much time oriented or time based. So for example, being able to, like, there will be a research in there where you can add a second extraction slot. So right now you start with 1 and it would go up to 2 and probably no more than 3, but definitely, 1 or 2. There will be some element as well of being able to break down items. So if you take items out and you want to break them down into their components in order to help with like, it'll create like a different currency for different systems, different progression systems and whatnot. But you might, for example, research like auto break down like white items when they drop on the ground. So rather than seeing common items drop on the ground anymore, they will just automatically break down into their components, and then those will get added to your currency numbers, which will be, down here, like gold, experience, gems, whatever the different meta progression system currencies will look like. So you can see as I'm killing enemies, I am getting some life back on kill. I don't quite know if I'm getting, or I guess it's life steal. I don't know where the life on kill, I think I got rid of that. But yeah, we have some life steal coming back now, so you can see a little bit of that coming in. So yeah, that's the kind of main sort of, system. And there'll be ways to toggle and see like your different stats and whatnot, and be able to, like maybe it might be some research on like improving the number of enemies that spawn in, or the type of them, or whatever the case is. But I really want there to be a lot of different, a lot of depth to this game, so you can kind of tackle it different ways. One of the things that I am going to be implementing is also kind of risk reward loot itself. So let's say you get something, a legendary item that has really strong stats to it, like a ton of damage, but it always comes with a downside of like your character can no longer uh, do lifesteal, or your character can no longer regen, or your character's attack speed, is capped at one attacks per second, whatever the case is. And I think that there would be, I'll kind of show you the death mechanism here. But like if you die, even with something in the extraction window, we'll see if my character will die here, that you'll lose anything that you found during that run, but you will still keep all of the gear that you copied over into your Echo and copied into the dungeon run itself. Um, and then there will also be, oh yeah, there'll be an abilities meta system as well. And so the abilities, there might be either ones that you can click on. I don't know if that'll be too busy for this game, or just kind of put them on like an auto battle or timer as well, that you'll see them kind of go off. And it might be things like stunning the enemies, doing AoE damage to them, pushing them back. All different types of abilities that you can kind of swap in and build around and power up. And so I really want there to be an element of like where the game is quite understandable, just the raw core kind of component of it. But as you're kind of progressing through the system, you're realizing, or progressing through the game, like, oh, I can, go chase certain legendary items, or, set items or unique items, or whatever the case is, that have certain downsides to them. And now I need to go build, change, adjust my build around that chase item, or that item, or whatever the case is. I'm going to research different things. I'm going to take different paths. I'm going to try different things on these different on my different characters and whatnot. And so, yeah, I think it's just like, so you can see even here, like so we just died there, but we got up to like, I'll be implementing like a death screen as well, but I think we got up to like wave 20 just with pretty much the gear that we took in with us. So yeah, that is the whole run. I don't think if I go to like tier 2, for example, they are harder, but I don't think, um, oh yeah, I just saw it said like tier 1. Okay, that's a bug that I gotta fix. It said tier 1, like wave 20. It picked up the last wave from when I died. So you see here, like tier 2, this will be considerably harder, although I just realized that my Echo is dead. This should be considerably harder. I haven't really tweaked the numbers to even see if that's true yet, but essentially, like tier 2 should, well, yeah, okay, you're killing killing the enemies in tier 2, but essentially tier 2 should be considerably harder, where these enemies are pretty much just one-shotting a character that isn't at least getting up to like wave 100 in tier 1, right? So obviously these numbers haven't been tweaked yet to get there, but they eventually will. So yeah, that's it. So Vault of Echoes, I'm going to continue kind of building out these systems. At some point, I really do like the concept of the design of pixel art, so I will definitely be implementing some of that. The way I've never built a game before, I'll probably cover this in a future one, but I am leveraging AI primarily as a learning mechanism. So my current setup is that I have Claude set up with my design doc for the game that I've come up with, and I talk through different implementations of features and capabilities, and like what's the best way to sort of structure and architect the game. And then I'm using JetBrains has an AI system in it that, as I'm writing code, or it's kind of looking over, I kind of consider it like a paired programmer. It's sort of either helping me write some code the first time and then I'm refining it, or it's looking over my shoulder, or it's in some cases helping me find bugs when the systems break or I can't figure something out. And so I am trying to get to a place where I feel like I'm using AI more for learning how to develop and how to architect and how to code, rather than having it sort of just do the whole thing itself. Now, it has written quite a bit, because that's the easiest way for me to learn. The one thing that I won't be doing is using any AI for art generation or music. That's For me, there's an ethical component of it, when it comes to how AI generates art today, and the fact that it trains off of existing art. Like, you don't want to get into all that right here, um, but yeah, it's been a really cool experience to kind of finally see this thing come to life. And so, yeah, at some point I'll be doing, I've taught myself a little bit of pixel art. So I will be doing the best I can to do a design pass on this. So it won't be all at once for sure. I really want to tweak a lot. Right now, I'm in the process of kind of tweaking the numbers and the pace of the game and the difficulty and the ramp up and all that. And then I'm going to be implementing some of the meta progression systems that you see out here in the lobby that obviously aren't here. And then starting to work on some of the basic icons for like the gear and the gear slots and the equipment slots. So it's just visually, it's a little bit easier to kind of understand what it is that I'm looking at as gear drops through the game. So yeah, I don't know what this will ever turn into, if this will ever be a game that others can play. I mean, this is a playable game. I've been able to compile the executable, so technically you could play this game if you desperately wanted to. Um, but right now it's just for me a I've had this idea and this for this game in the back of my head for so long. I've told people about this idea because I didn't really care. Like if some other, company built this game, this would have been phenomenal. And yeah, that's where I'm at. So thanks for checking this out. And every once in a while, I'll put up a video, kind of showcasing the progress that I've made. But because I'm having to learn all of this on my own from scratch, I anticipate that this will be a very um, long-standing process to build this game. But I'll tell you what, it absolutely delights me to think of something like this and think of the mechanics of it and the process and the loop of the game, build that, wire it up, go through all of the headaches when I build something and it's completely broken and doesn't work at all. At some point, if this ever did become a game, I would absolutely need a developer to have a look over the code, because I've had to, in some cases, put in some band-aids or what feel like band-aids to me. But there's been a lot of times, because I do have a little bit of a programming background myself, just as a hobby developer, but never for any video games. And most of what I know is in Python and JavaScript, and this is done in C# with Unity. But so I understand the principles of good game coding and development, and sort of like the single responsibility principle and whatnot. So I'm doing the kind of the best that I can, and it's been fun kind of building something and then realizing that the next system that I wanted it to interact with no longer will work in that current state, and then having to go back and refactor the entire feature or capability or whatever the case is. But yeah, that's Vault of Echoes. So thanks for checking it out and being on this little journey with me. Maybe we'll see what happens.